This computer. All right. You guys can stay on camera, go off camera. It's totally up to you. This is your show just as much as it is mine. So do what you do. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate your time today. I'm going to make this as valuable for you as humanly possible. Please trust and believe. I'm going to dive into LinkedIn. Okay, so we know the algorithm has changed. We've all seen it, especially if you've been on LinkedIn for a while now. There was a massive shift happening in the new year. But please don't worry. I'm going to tell you not only kind of what was changed, but kind of how to accommodate that. And we're going to go through all the things that you need to know in order to get engagement based on this new LinkedIn algorithm. All right. So I'm gonna be going through this. If you have questions, I just hold them. I may get to them later in the presentation, but if you have questions, just hold them. I'm gonna save time at the end, answer all the questions you have. I pretty promise. Okay. All right, let's dive into all things LinkedIn. By way of the agenda today, I'm going to go over obviously the algorithm, how things have changed, right? Things are a little bit different than they have been in the past, that is for sure. And then what's different about the algorithm in 2026. I'm going to go through kind of how to prep a post. There are things that you can do to sort of prime your post before you actually post. The heart of this conversation is going to go through the three types of posts that consistently perform well on LinkedIn. Then we're going to go through structure because structuring a post is also important to making sure that it gets good engagement. And then finally, we're going to go over kind of what to do after you post. There are things that you can do after posting to just make sure that it gets that little bit of extra reach too as well. So, if you came in just a little bit late, I did put a link to the complimentary blueprint in the chat. If you do not see it, here is the QR code. This, in my opinion, is the biggest value of being here today. This is a very detailed, kind of dense workbook to help you go through creating the types of posts that get engagement on LinkedIn. This will help you every time you go to post. You can use this for the entire year when you walk away from here. This will always be a guide for you to create posts. Not only just create posts, but think through, ideate, and brainstorm about posts. Not only posts, but kind of visuals, hooks, all things related to creating really good, strong posts. I have to admit, in the past, my previous life last year was not the best at sort of planning my post on LinkedIn, believe it or not. Even though I post a lot, it was very much so kind of what my whims were of that day or that week, and that's what I would post. I have gotten way better at sort of being more planny and strategic with my posts. I'm not the best, but I'm definitely better than I was in the past, and that I've definitely seen an improvement because of that. So this workbook will help you with that too as well. If by any chance you have struggled to get the workbook or whatever, don't worry. Going to make sure you get it before everybody leaves here today. If people are watching the recording, I will send a follow-up email with the recording as well as a link to the workbook as well. So don't worry, please don't fret. You're going to get it. I'm going to make sure. Okay. So let's dive in. LinkedIn's changed. We've all felt it, right? Golden age of kind of easy reach is over. Organic reach is down 50% across the board. And that has cascading effects to every other engagement marker. So reach is down. That means engagement is down. That means followers are down. Just to give you kind of just a sense, I know this doesn't apply to kind of many people on the call today, but just for relativity, if you had somewhere around 25,000 to 50,000 followers, your organic reach has dropped about 2,500 impressions. Okay, just to give you a sense. So, or LinkedIn has made a major shift to the type of content it rewards, and it is very different than what it has to in the past. Because of that, impressions, organic reach, general engagement is down for everybody, regardless. Okay. Just to give you some comparisons so you kind of know generally where you sort of fit. This gentleman is Andreas Johnson. He works for a company called Shield Index. He posts regularly on kind of how LinkedIn is benchmarking its impressions based on followers. So if you want to give him a follow and get that information, you can do so here. But for January, his most recent sort of update was if you have this or if you're in a certain follower range, you can expect to get this amount of impressions. Anecdotally, I've seen this to be true. So I have about 5,500 followers on LinkedIn. Before I was doing this strategy that I'm about to go through with you guys, I was getting around 400 impressions per post, just in general. So everything is relative to as well. But what I'm going to show you today, you don't have to be stuck at at these numbers. You can definitely outperform this, given what I'm going to go through on the types of posts that really do work and kind of beat these sort of general averaging numbers of impressions. Just anecdotally, just to show you that I'm not, kind of pontificating and talking out of my butt. I have done this before in 2025, again, routinely averaging 3, 4, 500 impressions on a good day, maybe 15 to 20 engagements, which means likes on a post, didn't know what to do, kind of couldn't get out of it. I kind of studied LinkedIn, studied the kind of posts that did well. LinkedIn had a mastermind, which I sat in, where they went over kind of, what does well on LinkedIn, what they kind of, reward, if you will. Listen to sort of thought leaders and people in the space and really kind of understood what really works on LinkedIn and what LinkedIn rewards as far as content goes. I implemented that, saw, 5x the impressions and engagement on my post. So this is the strategy that I'm going to outline with you just to show you I've done it. I'm not just up here talking. I've seen that it works. So I am the case study here. What's different with the algorithm? So post pre 2026, before kind of December, November of last year, LinkedIn really did reward sort of post frequency, right? One of the things that you heard all the time is like posting every day. Okay. That's passe now. It's kind of old news. LinkedIn doesn't reward post frequency anymore. Posts are lasting a lot longer. I'm sure you guys notice where, people in your network may be engaging with your post 1 week, 2 weeks, up to 3 weeks later. They are seeing your post and engaging with it. So posts last a lot longer. So dwell time is a lot longer for posts now. So posting consistently and frequently and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't get rewarded as much anymore. The golden goose of LinkedIn, what it rewards the most now these days is comments. Okay. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You're going to see this trend come up a lot. Comments is what LinkedIn values. So the posts now are structured to gauge towards promoting comments, commenting. Okay. LinkedIn is moving towards what it is considering authenticity. All right. It's trying its best to counter the AI that is out here, because of all the social media platforms, right? AI lends itself to LinkedIn the most. And it's trying to not negate it per se, they wouldn't put it that way, but like not reward it as much, especially things that are obvious AI signals. Any kind of like automation or things like that, it's definitely going to sort of deprioritize. So like automating comments and stuff like that, yeah, that's not going to work. They are deprioritizing those things for sure. But what they are prioritizing the most sort of organic comments. So as much as you can kind of prompt for comments, get comments and have comment discussions in your post, LinkedIn is going to reward that heavy and then expand the reach of those posts. It's also going to be rewarding sort of what we call secondary signals, so shares, saves, repost. If you can get things like that on your post, it's going to reward that too as well. And then discussion spiral. So any kind of conversations, you know, commenting back, having deep discussions in posts, all those things are going to get rewarded. So, all in all, things like commenting, sharing, posting, repost, saves, things that are sort of what they try to call authentic, kind of engagement signals. Those are the things that they are prioritizing with the new algorithm. So, getting into posting, okay, there's sort of four areas of high converting, performing posts. All right, we're going to go through each one of these. So, it's voice, the angle of the content, the visuals, and then the actual engagement. So, first things first is the voice. Um, the sort of what is deemed authentic is sort of this sort of journalistic style posting is highly rewarded in LinkedIn these days over a more corporatized sort of press release, this is what's going on sort of post. And it doesn't have to be corporate as far as like, a business posting. It's corporate as far as just like regular speak. A lot of people are just like, this is what I'm doing today. I'm gonna be here. Join me at this sort of thing. That's very corporate as far as LinkedIn goes, and it doesn't reward it as far as more journalistic style posting. So like I had this issue, and this is what's going on with my business, and this is what happened to me today, and this is how I dealt with it, right? Like that sort of like insight view sort of post, we call journal style posts, highly, highly rewarded as far as LinkedIn goes. What does that look like in actual posting? So here are two examples, one a corporate post, one a journalistic style post. I know both of these people, so no offense to Keith, love him dearly. Keith is in the franchising business. He helps people become franchise owners. I've known him for a long time, but this is a corporate post. It's super cool. And set the AI aside. It's super AI, right? Like that's not necessarily the thing that's dinging his post right now. The fact that it is very just here's the information sort of style of post is what's dinging it the most. So like if you can't read it, what it says is before you file your 2026 FDD, that's a franchise disclosure document. Let's talk strategy at IFA, that is a franchising conference. And then he goes on to talk about why you need an FDD and join him at the conference and stuff like that. Typical post, you see that a lot of the time. Not going to work in 2026. Okay. And again, the AI photo, it does get dinged. Now, you can have AI photos. I've seen them work, but I've seen them work better when it's like a diagram than like a post like this where it's trying to be replicate people, right? It doesn't, the algorithm doesn't really reward it. Versus Lachey, who is doing a prototypical to the T 100% journal style post that does very, very well on LinkedIn. Okay. She's going through her January and she says, I had a lot of plans in January and almost none of them got done. She went over all the delays that happened. Website got delayed. She did a cohort that got delayed. She has a product that went delayed. All these things sort of went wrong. And what she ends up going through in the post is that, it's okay. That's part of business. Here are the things that she was able to accomplish, and here are the lessons that she learned, and thanking her, people who supported her and her coaches. Beautiful, right? That is the stuff that LinkedIn rewards a lot, right? And the bonus is a visual of her in the midst of doing her actual work. So her at a computer. The imagery plus the journalistic kind of posting lends itself to that authenticity that LinkedIn likes and rewards. Okay. So corporate, not so much. The journalistic style posting, LinkedIn rewards. Next is the content angle. This is a big one for me. This is one that I sort of try to coach the businesses that I work with out of doing, which is the education versus the experience style post, right? A lot of times past LinkedIn, the education style post did really, really well, right? Listicles were the thing for a long time, 5 ways to improve your leadership, 5 tips to get leads, like all these sort of listicle style posts, even educational style posts. Here are tips, here are strategies, here are ways to do X, Y, Z. Those are really struggling in this new algorithm. It's not that you can't teach, you can and educate. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I do that all the time. But framing them more in the experience works so much better with the new algorithm than it did than just listicles and kind of just straight here's the information. So the experience post is saying, how did you come to understand this? So, in ways of 5 ways to improve leadership, here's my biggest lesson around leadership. Here's how I learned to be a good leader. Here's what I overcame, struggled with, experienced in order to help others become leaders. That type style post does phenomenally well with the LinkedIn algorithm. So, you can educate, you can teach, you can inform all of those things, but putting it in your own experience, how you came to that understanding is going to do way better than you just saying what the information is. Here's some examples of an education style post versus an experience post. Shout out to Terry again, obvious AI, but that's not, again, what's the biggest thing that's dinging his post. I'm going to read it to you and explain why this is a prototypical educational post that does not do well anymore. So Terry says, most small businesses don't have a marketing problem, they have a credibility gap. Their websites look fine, their messaging sounds professional, their offer makes sense, but something's still off. And when a potential client can't immediately answer, can I trust this business? They hesitate or leave. Credibility isn't about being louder or more creative. It's about clarity, consistency, and proof. When those are aligned, conversations flow. On its face, it's innocuous, right? Sounds like what's wrong with that? Decent information. The problem is, if I'm the audience, if I'm a business owner, what am I supposed to do with that? Right? Like, I agree. Sounds good. Okay, and move on. The LinkedIn algorithm is rewarding engagement. It wants comments. There's nothing to comment on this about. Good job, Terry. Thanks. Like there's nothing here. As far as actually like giving information and advice, there's nothing specific. You're not telling me to do anything specific. Like give me a specific example of what it takes to improve credibility. What does that look like? What does a better look like? What does a better website look like? What does better messaging sound like? What does a better offer presented as? Like you're not giving me anything tangible, specific, instructional to go after. I can't see myself in this post. I don't know what I'm doing wrong based on what you're saying. That means I don't know what to do right. Okay. It's just information for information's sake. Nothing to engage with here. Thanks, Terry. I'm moving on. Reagan, on the other hand, does a beautiful job of an experience post. This post that I have up here of Reagan is cut off right around here. You can't really tell. It's a much, much longer post, but it is an excellent example of experience, right? She's talking about herself and what she went through in marketing, and it goes into depth of examples of what she means when she says these things, right? And this is AI too, right? So Reagan's here using kind of obvious AI signals to me, and still the post went gangbusters, as you can see. So it's not the fact that it's AI, right? It's more of the positioning and the point of view. So kind of Reagan starts off here saying that I started my career in marketing ops. Now I'm head of marketing. And here's the most frustrating thing that I've learned. Every organization I touch has the same issue. They don't understand marketing. Not because they're dumb, but because they've been taught a lie. So, and then she goes into all of the ways in which she hears about, in organizations, how they misunderstand marketing. Okay. And then she goes, because when leadership says marketing isn't working, what they really mean is we never agreed on what marketing is supposed to do. And then she does the thing that LinkedIn loves, which is prompt commenting. She says, what's the most common marketing misunderstanding you see inside companies right now? Hits the arrow down to say, hey, put it in the comments. Of course, you see comments go crazy, engagement goes crazy. It's a prototypical experience post that LinkedIn loves, and it went absolutely gangbusters. Third thing is the visuals. Okay, so filler visuals, sort of those sort of innocuous, benign, just an image for image sake, versus sort of proof of you or the work. Those things do very, very well on LinkedIn. I'm sure you see Selfie City, right? Like a lot of people posting selfies, but they do that because people connect with people and people want to see people doing the thing, right? So what I'd say about visuals is it's not necessarily you facing the camera like a selfie, but like you kind of in action, in motion. Like Lachey at her desk is a good example of that, right? You proving out the concept of the thing that you're talking about. Those things do really, really well when you couple them with your post. So here's an example of kind of a filler visual versus a proof visual. So we have Elijah. She says her post starts out with one thing I'm noticing in marketing right now. Community is outperforming reach. You don't need millions of followers. You just need the right audience paying attention to you. Elijah, what does this image of a dashboard have to do with community, right? Like those two things don't go together. This is a generic image that has nothing to do with nothing. So contrast that with Jesse. Jesse is a videographer who went to an event and he was the sponsor and videographer of that event. And he showed proofs of him being at that event, some behind the scenes of him doing his work at that event. Post performed very, very well. Okay. So visuals matter. The fourth thing is the engagement. So before in LinkedIn, the kind of how you grew was to gain a lot of followers because LinkedIn would show your content to your network. So if you had a lot of followers, you automatically had a bunch of reach because the post went to your network. As we all know and see, that doesn't really happen right now. There are posts that you have that your network may or may not see. They definitely will not see immediately. Again, we talked about dwell time. They'll see it eventually, but a lot later after the post has been posted. So kind of gaming the system or the algorithm for followers isn't really worth it right now. What works really well is sort of micro community. So how that looks like is maybe getting 10, 15, 20 people who are either in your ICP, either in your industry, or have the same sort of values, point of view, perspective that you do, who you kind of like and respect. Friends, colleagues, coworkers also count in that community, and continuously engaging with those people. So when you see their content, continuously liking it, commenting on it, sharing it, cultivating that sort of micro community, what happens is those people also then comment on your post, like and share. It goes out to their audience too as well. And then that's how you kind of organically get your reach up. Even if you don't have, 10, 15, 20,000 followers, you have, 500, 1,000. If you micro community correctly, you can get out, kind of kick your reach just by doing those things. So micro communities are the way to go. So your voice, the angle of the content, the visuals, and the engagement are things that we want to focus on, that the algorithm is going to be sort of rewarding and looking at moving forward versus kind of previous years. All right, let's get into the kind of heart of today's discussion, which is the types of posts that do well on LinkedIn. All right. These three type of posts, like I said, I've done them myself. I've seen them kind of consistently perform well. So, and this is what the workbook that I kind of outlined for you goes through these types of posts. First things first is the origin story. Okay. LinkedIn themselves, every LinkedIn influencer, LinkedIn experts, LinkedIn, top voices, this type of posts of all the posts, I'm not saying guaranteed, but like 95% of the time are going to do very, very well for you. Okay. Origin story posts do extremely well. Origin story posts are not always like how I started my business or how I got my job. They can be that for sure, but they're more like how did you get to the point in life that you're at right now? How did you get here? How did you get to this level of understanding? How did you get to this level of success? How did you get to this position? How did you get to this understanding? How did you get to this point in your life? Like, how did you get here? What did you go through, right? There was some overcoming, some hurdles, some breakthroughs, some revelations, and those types of stories smash on LinkedIn. Okay. Tell me how you got to this point right now. All right. So here's an example of an origin story post that I have done that did very, very well. I was on a podcast. Good friend Jeremy Woods has a podcast. He's actually in IT. He's not in marketing at all. He has a podcast that he does with people in different industries to learn more about them. All kind of like aligned on sort of, being geeky and sort of very much kind of narrow focused in your particular industry and passionate about whatever it is that you do. And I was on his podcast, and part of his podcast is understanding your origin story, like how you got to where you at. So to promote me being on this podcast, I did an origin story post. about it. And the structure of an origin story post kind of goes like this, where there's a hook. All posts start with a hook, right? The first two lines of any LinkedIn post is the most critical part of the post. It tells me why I should keep reading the post or why I should keep engaging with it. So the origin story post, the hook that I had for that one is I left corporate 3 years ago to start my own business, and it was the best decision I ever made. People can relate to either leaving corporate or wanting to, and making sure that it's a good decision for them. So that was a solid hook for me. The situation was, hey, I didn't leave corporate because I hated marketing. I left because I actually loved marketing, right? So that was the scenario in which I based the post on. The tension for the post is sort of like, what did you have to overcome? What was the struggle here, right? Tension in this post was like somewhere along the way, marketing stopped being about people and turned into tricks and gimmicks and cheap conversions, right? It turned into something that it was never meant to be. And then the realization part of this post was the realization is like the epiphany, like what did you understand? What was new? What was the aha moment, if you will? So the revelation in this post was like marketing is simple at its core. It's just about people. All you got to do is understand people. And we overcomplicate the crap out of marketing. And so the new belief, the sort of outcome there is I started my business because I wanted to help people understand marketing and get it back to its original purpose, which is to help people and not just to create a bunch of content and drive leads. Okay. So as you can see, the post did really, really well, had 100 engagements, and then it did over 1,800 impressions. Again, because I started out with averaging 400 impressions. So this post did really, really well for me. The origin story post, number one by far, if you're going to start anywhere, it's a good place to start because everybody has a how I got to where I'm at story. Like, that's an easy story to tell. Okay. So, origin story posts work every time. Do's and don'ts of an origin story post. Just don't recite your resume. It wasn't like I was 5 and then I went to elementary school and then I went to high school and then I got a job. Like, don't just recite a timeline or a resume. That's not what we're doing here, right? It really is a story about how you came to know something, understand something, accomplish something, complete something, get to the point in life and where you're at right now. All right. Second type of post that does really well is a behind the scenes, the good old BTS. The BTS is sort of give me a peek behind the curtain, okay? Tell me the failure, the process, and, like get me into like that middle part, right? We see the beginning and we see the end, but we don't see that kind of ugly middle, like how you actually kind of figured it out, right? What does that look like while you're actually in it? So, give me the behind the scenes. What happened? So you want to describe sort of the issue, the pain, like where you're at, what happened, what changed, what occurred, and then like what was the transformation? Like how'd you come out the other side of that? What was the revelation there? Um, Lachey's post, also that journalistic post, an excellent behind the scenes post example too as well. So, what does a behind the scenes post look like? Here's one that I did. That was about an article that I wrote for martech.org. So, those on the call that don't know what martech.org is, it's a publication for B2B marketers all around sort of the intersection of marketing and technology, how to use technology to operationalize, automate, kind of scale your marketing. So I write for them on a quarterly basis, and I wrote an article for them about how to do better, how B2B companies can do better on social media. And they changed the title, and they changed my original title. So the hook here that I have is I recently wrote an article for martech.org, and they softened the title. You can see it in the caption here, 7 tips for building a social media presence that actually works. Here's the behind the curtains. My original title was B2B social media is embarrassing. Okay. And they changed the title on me. The insight here is the irony that, like, what I'm telling B2B companies to do is that the platforms reward, interesting point of view and cultural relevance and engagement and like standing out and all these things. And like B2B brands, none of that. and martech.org went and sanitized the the post and did the things I'm telling people not to do that don't stand out. The irony, you couldn't even write it, right? So that's the insight. So the transformation is, hey, what it's worth. Here's how to actually do good on, on social media if you're a B2B company. Don't sanitize the things, don't be gimmicky, but you can do a better job on social media by standing out and doing all these things. So the irony was funny. As you can see, posted really well, over 4,000 impressions on it. Lots of good engagement, some funny comments. Martech.org themselves came into my comments and tried to justify themselves, but most people were like, you should have kept the original, could have kept the original title, which that was the point. Hello. But that's the behind the scenes, right? That was my behind the scenes. It did really, really well. Peek behind the curtain. Um, Behind the scenes, also can typically, again, the journalistic style, just kind of letting people in on what's going on with you, right now, today, what happened, what are you working on, what did you do that, kind of didn't work the way that you thought it would, or you had a success that you didn't expect. That's the kind of idea of the behind the scenes post. So like just giving the steps or the process and how to, again, that's sort of passe that goes in the kind of traditional educational lane. Listicles don't do that. But focus on the feeling, the emotion, the experience, the learning, the outcome. That's going to take you much further. LinkedIn's going to reward you heavily for that type of post. The final type of post that does really, really well on LinkedIn is the personal story. So you see this most often with like life updates, like I got married, I had a baby, I went to an event, like those sorts of things do well, they do. But you could also use this in just sort of like a personal anecdote or a hobby, or something that you like or something that you don't like. Like all those sorts of things lends itself well to having a personal story. Um, the other thing that I will mention about the kind of personal story is the important here part is the story. Okay. Like letting people into the who, what, where, how, when, why, is what takes it from just being a Facebook style post to like really, really working on LinkedIn. Um, the LinkedIn also rewards sort of industry news, like big like things that are going on in the world. If you like talk about those things, it really does reward those types of things. Instead of just doing a commentary on like what the news is, turning that into a personal story does really, really, really well. So the story part is really the key. It's not the personal anecdote, it's the ability to sort of let people in, but also then tell a story with it that can lead to, a business outcome, a lesson learned, all those sorts of things, a key insight. It all works really, really well. But personal stories do really well. Here's what one that I've done that worked really well for me. So I went to an event over the weekend a few weeks ago to do like custom sneaker painting. So you kind of bring white sneakers and then you paint them. You paint them in any style that you want to. And as I was kind of sitting there doing the sneaker, coloring the sneakers and painting them up, I had kind of had a revelation about like perfection and like um failing and really the lessons being learned and not trying to be perfect, but also just trying to like the practice of doing something is really how you get good. And if you are always trying to be perfect and you never fail, that means you never really learn. And I was equating that to sort of business in a sense where, the hook that I had there was like next year, 2027 will be 20 years in marketing for me. It's the only kind of job that I've ever had. It's the only career I've ever been in is marketing. I've only ever been a marketer. And I've learned more about marketing in the last 3 years of having my own business than in the previous 15 years of being in corporate marketing. And the reason for that is that in my business, I fail. Like that's part of having your own business. It's kind of built into the code of having your business is failing, right? Like it's part of the process. No one has their own business and just like hit it out the park all the time every day. It doesn't happen, right? But the beautiful part of that is like you're constantly learning, which means then you're constantly growing. That's how you grow and scale a business is to fail, learn, try again, do it over again. In corporate marketing, you don't get that kind of grace. You don't get that benefit. So you keep kind of hitting a wall every single time. You don't get to kind of take the leaps and bounds that, executives want to see because there isn't really a lot of room to fail. Um, so I kind of went through that whole kind of diatribe in this, but connecting it to, the sneaker painting thing that I did. So I was saying corporate marketing, I didn't learn as much as I did. And then I was saying like I went to go paint sneakers and like initially it's like they're white, so you feel like this pressure to like paint within the lines and not screw up, and then you realize like, dude, it's totally fine. Like it's so they're gonna turn out cool regardless. This is really dope. It doesn't really matter if I paint the lines. It kind of adds to the character of the shoe. That's sort of the point, right? So I kind of went through that. Like the point is to kind of mess up. It's totally cool. They're mine. I'm not selling these. They're whatever I want them to be. So they can be whatever. Like that little paint outside the lines just adds character and uniqueness to the shoe, makes them even cooler, as a matter of fact. So that type of personal story, along with sort of the pictures, right? Me doing it, me showing the actual in the moment, what happened. This post performed really, really well, did good for me. So over 100 engagement. I think it did what? Let's see what we got here. 1,700 impressions. So personal stories do really, really well. The thing about personal stories is, again, it's not a generic what I did today. So to post, again, we don't want to lean into the Facebook side of life, right? We still want to tie it to some sort of income, I mean, sort of insight, sort of detailing what happened, sort of what was the revelation, what is it tied to as a bigger lesson, what's the outcome, what can other people learn here, what are you trying to teach, show, demonstrate, all those things make the personal story really, really good. Also, again, if you tie a personal story to anything that's happening in the news, a big cultural moment, I saw people do Super Bowl, right? Stuff like that. You tie a personal story to that, those do really, really well, especially if you add kind of a few photos to it. LinkedIn loves it. All right, the genesis here. To summarize kind of all of this, what all these sort of three posts have in common is to LinkedIn's kind of point about authenticity. Humans connect to humans. They're human stories. They put you in the story. They all kind of drive your point of view, how you think, what you've been through, your personal experience, what you learned, because it helps us relate to each other. Like we've all been there. You're not the only person who's ever dealt with the things that you dealt with. Other people have dealt with them too, and it allows us to connect to you through those things, right? So it's hard for some people. I know on this call personally, I had to go through it, but you're going to do better on LinkedIn, opening up, being a little bit vulnerable, sharing a part of yourself. That's going to help you, these posts do better than just sort of saying what it is, promoting your business, talking about, the latest tips, tricks, listicle things, kind of giving us insight, telling us how you relate to those things, what happened, what was your experience, journalistic style, behind the scenes style, personal story style, origin story, how you got there. Framing them in those ways helps a whole lot. Because people log in to learn. They want to know from different experiences. They want to see how people are navigating the same issues that we're all navigating through work and business and struggle and, economies, and things are down and things are tough. How is everybody else kind of navigating those things? And we don't want to feel alone in the things that we're doing, right? We want to know that other people are experiencing the same things that we're experiencing it, how they're handling it, how they fixed it, what they did to overcome it, how they're working through it, all those things. So the other thing about these types of posts is they naturally lend themselves to the things that LinkedIn rewards, which is a strong hook, a clear point of view, a clear and unique point of view, okay, and a simple narrative. All right. So structure does matter. I will want to add that. So there is a sort of structure to these style posts. So I kind of in each post, I kind of went through the elements of the post, like how to put them together. But generally, if you have some structure to your post, it does help. So hook, first two lines, practicing hooks are going to be your best friend. In the blueprint that I have for you guys, there's a section to sort of work through hooks, practice different types of hooks. They are definitely sort of the 1A of structuring your post. Getting a hook right is half the battle, if not more so. The context. So context is the storytelling. So LinkedIn very much rewards sort of storytelling. So if you tell it from your point of view, like your experience, what happened, the behind the scenes, it naturally lends itself to a story versus you trying to like once upon a time and land far, far away, right? Like trying to like come up with a story. If you're just talking about your experience, the story is naturally there, right? So, situation, tension resolution, stories always have that kind of frame. So the context being that, the story itself definitely helps. The lesson, the takeaway, the outcome, the revelation, the learning, the new belief, right? Ending with that, that's sort of the punch. Here's what I understood. Here's the difference. Here's the transformation. And then the question, right? That is again, LinkedIn is rewarding comments. So being able to prompt comments, prompt discussion, having discussion in the comments, super, super, super gonna take the reach of your post to the next level. That's how you kind of expand the organic growth of post is by prompting comments. Comments is what LinkedIn rewards above all in the new algorithm. Images are helpful. So, do you have to have images in your post? You do not. The number one types of posts are long form posts in LinkedIn still to this day. So, you are not required to have images in your post at all. You can have image posts do very, very well and not have any images in there whatsoever. However, if you are going to have images in your post, they do help if it's your sort of like your own point of view and kind of the story about your experience, what you've learned, your behind the scenes, what you're struggling with, coupling those with posts do help a lot. So yes, you doing the thing, you and doing the business at the event, you at the computer, those do help post do a little bit better than if they weren't there for those style of posts. So if you are going to do visuals, stay away from the kind of corporate kind of filler posts that are just there for their purposes. If you're going to do images, the more authentic the post, that's you kind of in the moment, they're going to do much, much better. I will say diagrams also do well. They just do. Memes do well. They do. So I want to put that out there. I don't want to act like only you selfies do well. They're not. They're the type of images that do well. So I'll say that too as well. Video. So previously, especially in 2025, people struggled with video. Like LinkedIn was still trying to figure it out. I'll say in 2026, the video is getting reach. So you can kind of double, triple your organic reach by doing video. LinkedIn is trying to promote video much, much more now. So the type of videos that do really well are not the super duper polished, but polished enough where it's like if you want to have some edits, some B-roll in there, they don't mind that at all. Regular old Instagram style, like face the camera, you just holding the camera up and you just kind of recording. Those tend to do well. That's really all you need to get started. Get some traction. And then if you want to sort of do some light editing, add some B-roll, add some stylistic background to it, sure, why not? The biggest thing with video is trying your best to keep them under 3 minutes. So sweet spot is 60 to 90 seconds, but anything under 3 minutes typically will get that extra boost on LinkedIn. Again, that sort of still storytelling style still does really, really well. So still keep that frame. Yeah, don't have to have super polished videos at all. Again, we're not, Paramount or Warner Brothers out here or Disney or anything. Don't have to be anything that special. Literally you talking to camera, you in the car. Again, still that anything like if anybody's on Instagram, that kind of Instagram style, rough face to camera does just fine on LinkedIn too as well. As long as you're sort of storytelling, teaching, educating, giving good information, good advice, it all really works. So pre and post. So there is a such thing as priming your post. So before you kind of post, if you just want to spend 30 minutes logging on to LinkedIn, commenting on other people's posts before you post is a good way to prime your post for reach. So this is where that sort of organic micro community comes in. So logging on, uh, if you kind of prime your community right, your timeline will be prioritized with their post. So it's easy to sort of go in, engage with the 10, 15 or so people you always sort of engage with, comment on their posts, like it, that sort of thing. That will help sort of when you're ready to do these style posts, give it a little bit more reach because when you comment on others, they tend to post on yours, right? And their posts then become priority on their timeline too as well. If you have a business page and a personal page, 1000 million% prioritize your personal page over your business page. Business page LinkedIn is its own separate beast. That's its own separate thing, right? For what I'm talking about here, personal page for sure. Use your personal page to then leverage your business page. So like tag your business page in your posting and stuff like that. And then you can organically grow your business page through your personal page. Again, that's its own strategy. But if you're trying to toggle between the two, personal page all day long, people connect with people, they buy from people. That's going to do way better for you than trying to leverage your business page first, grow that, and then go vice versa. Okay. And then in that 30 minutes, just sort of like scan LinkedIn for like things that you like, things that you see are working. I'm not saying copy per se, but once you sort of scan LinkedIn with a more critical eye and like what's working here? What's the successful rate? You start to see trends, right? And you pick up things that like, okay, this sort of framing works, this sort of positioning works, these type of things work all the time. And like what works for you, right? Like I see memes work all the time. I'm not that girl. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to be pithy on LinkedIn, like super quirky, pithy, sort of, one-liners. They crush on LinkedIn. I'm not that girl. I'm not funny in that type of way. I don't know how to reduce it down. I'm a dense person. Y'all know that. Like, I can like pack it in real tight. Y'all see the workbook. I'm a long-winded girly. I don't know how to be pithy. So it's just not me. But are there things out of there of like, so I'm not saying don't be yourself. Don't try to pick up things that you see working and just do something that's like out of your realm. But if you see things that are in your realm, like things that are longer form content, like I like to kind of create that you see are working, kind of try to incorporate those things, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Just spend some time on LinkedIn just studying. Um, so third, do that, 30 minutes. And then after you post, is it like a 90-minute, 2 hour window? You can kind of gauge how a post is going to perform in the first sort of 2 hours of the posting. Okay. So that those are the most kind of critical times of the post. Any post that you get within that window, you want to respond to quickly. Okay. Because again, the algorithm loves comments. So if you get comments, respond to the comments, ask the comments. One tactic that you can use is in the comments, when you respond to a comment, respond with a question to prompt more comments, right? So it's like, you know, ask them, what they thought about it, how they got to it, give me extra thoughts, give me additional insights. So prompting comments and your response comments is a way to get more content, get more comments. That's the conversation that LinkedIn likes. That's the discussion depth that LinkedIn likes. That will expand the reach of the post. If your post is not performing well in those first couple hours, don't be afraid to edit it, especially changing the hook, those first two lines. Play with that. Don't be afraid to do that. These posts aren't static, okay? You can go in and edit them at any time. So if you see it's a little lagging, especially if like you start to do sort of posts that you know traditionally do well, and for whatever reason this one's lagging, go in and edit the hook. See if that makes a difference. If for whatever reason a post is lagging that like normally this post I do does really well and for whatever reason is not doing well, take it down. Let's post it another day. It just may not be the day, right? That's totally okay. I've done that recently. It's like, man, I know this type of post really does well and it wasn't doing well. Took it down, posted another day, right? Did fine. Okay. So don't be afraid to just, not post it that day. Today may not be the day. That's totally cool. No, just a couple final thoughts before I get into any questions you guys have. So don't post every day. Okay. Don't. A good cadence is every other day. LinkedIn actually recommends 2 to 3 times a week for posting because again, the posts are lasting longer now. Posting every day is just going to cannibalize your own post. That's all you're doing. And posting multiple times a day really is going to cannibalize your own post. That's going to crush your reach. All right. So actually spacing out your post is more rewarded these days than posting every day. Consistency is the key. So consistently posting every other day or posting 3 times a week is going to do way, way better for you than posting every day, especially with the new algorithm. Look, not every post is gonna slap. All right. It's just the truth. Not every post is gonna slap. All right. That's totally normal. If there are people that you follow that are influencers or people that you know have a lot of kind of regular engagement, you can go look at their sort of post activity and see not every post does, you know, 10,000 impressions and 800 freaking likes. It doesn't, right? They can do that one day and then do 40 engagement the next day. Okay. That is normal. So, once you start doing this, you start seeing some success. Please don't be surprised when like not every post is going to go gangbusters. It's just the nature of it. All right. So look at trending data. If the trend is going up, you're doing good. Look at secondary signals. If you're getting shares, if you're getting reposts, if you're getting follows, all of that is a good signal. Okay. So just keep going. But not every post is going to hit it out the park. It just is what it is. Sometimes engagement is just down on LinkedIn. That is also the nature of LinkedIn. So, like for example, when the ICE thing in Minneapolis happened, that was a big cultural moment. People wanted to talk about it. Engagement was up because just people were on the platform, people were on social just wanting to talk and express and share in general. So that rising tides lift all boats, that improved the engagement for all the posts across the board on LinkedIn during that period because people were on the platform wanting to engage. Um, this week was a holiday week. We started off Monday with President's Day. When Monday is a holiday, generally the rest of the week tends to be slow. So if you are seeing engagement down this week, that's normal. It's a holiday week, slow the week down, it happens. Okay. One thing that you can do is again, if there are people you normally follow who normally do really, really well, and you go on their posts in this particular week or two, their engagement is also down, then you know it's not you. You know it's just general engagement on LinkedIn is just down. Is what it is. Okay. Again, we want trends, not every day I gotta, hit the certain marker. It's not gonna be how it goes. And again, the last tip tagging others, tagging other businesses, tagging other people. Great way to expand reach, right? Tagging other people in posts. Once that post gets engagement and gets some comments, those people's networks will then be exposed to the post as well. So that's a good way. Comments. Oh, the other thing about comments is comments are also exposed to that person's network, right? So prompting people to comment also exposes the your post to their network too as well, because people see that they comment on the post. So if you see that comments also get impressions, that's another indicator that again, the golden egg of LinkedIn is really about prompting the comments. Okay. So that is it. Shameless plug. If you guys want to dive deep into LinkedIn, right? I do kind of one-on-one coaching all about LinkedIn, helping you craft posting, really focusing on the lead gen part of LinkedIn for businesses, but really about how to set your LinkedIn up, how to really craft these posts specifically to get engagement and do LinkedIn. So if you're interested in some one-on-one coaching, visit my website, coaching clinic section. I got one just on LinkedIn for you guys. All right. I did try to do my best to leave a few minutes for questions. So if you want to unmute yourself or even come on camera, happy to answer any questions that you guys have. I will look in the chat for questions. What's up, Curtis? What you got for me, man?
Hey, Moni. Excuse me. I haven't talked for a while.
Yeah.
Hey, my question was just so with the personal experience part of the stuff that works on posts, do you have any opinions on how to correctly maybe like use somebody else's experience? Like I have a friend and they saw this when they did
Yes.
something like that. Because
Yes.
I have issues with every post being I did this, I did this, I did this, I
Yes.
did this.
Yep, 1,000%. Yes, you can use other people's experience, 1,000%. And to your point, Curtis, what I would say to the three types of posts that I explained, you don't have to do that every post. I don't do those every post, right? So yeah, a good point. Like that's not what I'm saying. Is like every post you have to do has to be behind the scenes or origin story or personal story. Highly recommend mixing it up, right? Of your three posts of the week, one post is one of those, right? Or every other week you do one of those types of posts. But 1,000%, yes, you can use other people's experience in that too as well. There's no problem with that. Excellent question. Awesome. What other questions did people have for me?
Yeah, Moni,
What's up,
I had a
Sean?
couple.
Yeah.
Um, so um, tagging
Yes.
contacts
Yeah.
on the post, like when you
Yes.
can kind of tag people.
Yeah.
What is your kind of feeling on that as it relates
We
to?
love tagging. Tagging works, but we don't want to tag for tag's sake. We want to tag in context. So like an in context tag style post, if you've seen of like I'm trying to create a network around, I see this a lot, like women in marketing, like tag
Mhm.
a fellow female marketer who you think is, applicable for this. Or,
Yeah.
I have a podcast, I'm looking for podcast guests, tag a, person you think would be good for this podcast. That's
Okay.
tagging in context where
Okay.
it makes sense for the post.
Okay.
Tagging for tagging's sake, we don't want to do that.
So I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
I connect regularly with a lot of CROs.
Yep.
Um, and so what I started to do, and I haven't even looked back at my analytics to see the impressions on, so that just tells you a lot. But I, I, I had connected with a number of CROs. So what I would do is tagging my new CRO connections.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Or
Yeah.
tagging some of my
Yeah.
old CRO connections. What do
Yeah.
you think about this? Right?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
kind of using it that way, but
Yeah.
again, to tap into their audiences. And I was just curious to hear your thoughts.
I like that. I like that. I would like that even better if there was some insight with the CRO that you had that was relevant to the post. So it's like if you had a like tip or like you ran
Oh yeah,
into
it was
like,
definitely
yeah,
about
yeah,
it was contextually
yes,
to what
perfect,
CROs were dealing with, and
perfect.
so and by the way, I think you are absolutely right about just your experience and your point of view,
Yeah,
because I did like probably with too much frequency. But I did my predictions for 2026,
yeah,
and I had kind of the same style of thing, but it was like here's number one, and then I was
right,
like go back and look at number three because this is
right.
really important. But I do, I'm certain I've done some looking at my analytics, but and during
Mhm.
that time from Christmas to New Year's into the new year, I definitely got more engagement than I have
For
on LinkedIn
sure.
posts in a long time.
Yeah,
I have a question about video
yeah,
posts. Um, so I record a video.
yep,
When I go to LinkedIn to post,
yeah,
I still have to write a post to go
yes,
with the video.
correct.
But yet I see this channel, if you will, on LinkedIn where you can just look at the feed and it's just videos. And
Yep.
like, how are these not the same or different, or like how do I have can I just have a video feed and like not the post?
So if you notice with video, like the post doesn't really matter. Like it'll prompt you to post, but it doesn't really matter. And what I say with posts is actually the biggest thing with videos is like I don't know. I post my videos on LinkedIn from my phone, and there is a prompt where it has the text on it where you can put like a header on the video.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, that's the hook. Like that's the biggest thing that I see work because people know what the video is about before they
Hmm.
even look at the video. Even I think
Hmm.
like that's even more important than the captions in my opinion. Is using that
Okay.
sort of text at the top to say what the video was about.
Yeah.
And then the hook, the like the first two lines of the post will be at the bottom of the video. But like saying having a big old long post associated to the video doesn't do you any
Yeah.
solids.
I don't even want to write one. I just really just wanted to post a
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I
Right.
just put in the quick tips and like I'd say I
Right.
talk about it in the video. Watch the video.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. But my biggest tip for video is use that text, man. A lot of people don't use it. I'm like, that's your biggest hook there. Use that.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Cool. What's up, Jennifer?
So, I've got a question because
Yeah.
I'm somewhat new to marketing and
Hmm.
still finding my way. So I've been on two podcasts recently, and I
Uh-huh.
would like to shout it from the rooftops.
Yes.
And so, I mean, like, what does a post look like? It's not like, hey, look at me, I'm on a podcast. Like,
Right.
how do what kind of post do you write that, fits in with what you're telling us, but
Yes.
still like promotes it?
For sure. That's what I did with my origin story one. That's exactly what I did. So I did an origin story post promoting me being on this podcast, right? So what did you talk about during the podcast? What was the key takeaway? What was the big insight? Was there a revelation? Was there some important thing to know about it? Like framing the post in that sense. And then that also gives me the audience a reason to go listen to the podcast. So it's
Mhm.
still like your experience, your point of view, but it's like what was important about this podcast? What's the biggest lesson? What's the biggest reason somebody would want to listen to it? And then framing the
Mhm.
post around that and then driving to the podcast.
Okay. All
Makes
right.
sense?
Thank you.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. I saw a hand from Miss Carla. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Sorry, I had a hard time trying to get off mute here, but think this was so wonderful. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're so welcome.
So my question is around, so I thought I knew LinkedIn, but clearly after taking your class, I know nothing of what I was doing. Um,
I
and
always feel
so
like that with Moni.
I
very,
know,
I
right?
know, right? And so very basic, if we could, and maybe you went over this because I was like a little late.
Hmm.
It's terminology.
Hmm.
What is the difference between engagements
Hmm.
and impressions?
Yes. Yes,
Like
ma'am.
when you talk about the analytics and what do I want more of, and
Right.
what number is considered good, and what am I trying to hit?
Yes.
Sorry,
So
that's a lot of questions all in
no,
one.
no, you're fine. That's an excellent question. So impressions is the number of people who have seen the post, simply put, right? So scrolling on the timeline, the number of times it hits somebody's view, right? Just number of impressions. Engagement is when you hit like, heart, celebrate, like that's the engagement number. So when you actually kind of like respond to the post, you put a little like thumbs up on it, heart on it, that's the engagement. There used to be, but there is not anymore any relativity or connection to those two numbers anymore. So it used to be the engagement drove up the number of impressions. The more people that engage, hit the like button, hit the heart button, then you would see the impressions go up. It would show it to more people. That's not the case anymore. Okay. There's really no correlation between those two things. Okay. Uh, the number of comments is what's going to increase the number of impressions. So we do want to kind of increase the number of impressions because that's your how many people are going to actually see it. People have to see it to engage with it, right? So it's the comments. We really want to prompt for commenting as much as we can because that's going to increase the number of people who get to see your post. Okay. So, relatively speaking, I have to go back to the beginning. There was a slide that I showed in the very beginning that outlined sort of what to expect baseline based on how many followers you have. Nope, nope. Keep going. Back here. Yeah, here. So based on the number of followers you have, here's the number of just impressions baseline without you doing anything that LinkedIn is gonna have for you. Okay. Based on the post that I talked about sharing, you can expand beyond that. But just baseline, you doing nothing, you just posting on a regular day. If you have, a 0 to 1,000 followers, is going to show it to about 150 people generally. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Miss Carla.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. I'm just I now that you say that the two numbers are not linked, I'm like, so
Mm-mm.
I just need to get some comments then, I guess. I don't.
Comments is where it's at. That's how you're gonna expand that reach. Yeah, the I did the behind the scenes post about the Martech org. That post had over 4,000 impressions, but under 100 engagement. You know what I mean? So it's like I had a post with, almost 150 engagements, likes, hearts, or whatever, and it had 1,500 impressions. There's no correlation. Okay. It's the comments. You want to comment.
So,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, so the point of all this then is to get, so I'm obviously we're doing this for, well, I'm doing it for business, right? And
Yes.
so do I really even care? I just need to get people to come to my website and spend some money. Like,
Yeah.
so is so then the comments don't really matter to me. I need to get people in. So then I want people to see it,
Right. But the way
right?
we get people to see it is through comments.
Okay, so I see now. Right,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just trying to regroup
Oh,
like my
no,
plan on what I need to do. Got
for
it. Okay, thank
sure.
you so
No, it's a good
much.
question. You're very, very welcome. I do want to, I did see some questions in the chat. We said, what's your perspective on blending personal story with business? Do it. Do it. Okay. I think I feel like my example was an example of that, where it's like I'm talking about my personal sort of experience with sort of understanding marketing, but like how I related to my business. Okay. No problem with mixing business and personal. Please do that. Okay, Jennifer, you also asked what's the best way to use tips to promote a podcast. Yeah, we talked about that one. Let's see. Let's see, Helvi. As I build my business, would you recommend using LinkedIn strategically? Should I be targeting potential customers? What's the best way to do that? So the strategy that I've kind of implemented, and Sean, if you have 2 cents about this too, because you're in this realm, I like it for like when I'm networking. I don't give people business cards. I give people my LinkedIn. And that allows them to kind of then be in my network, see my posts, get a more understanding of what I'm doing so that when you do outreach, they're sort of primed and you're not going cold uh to them. So yeah, I don't do business cards. I do Blink and I direct people to my LinkedIn and then I sort of prime them with the
Yeah.
content and then we do some outreach.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say, um, Carla, to that, I think that was Carla, that you need to, there's a statistic that really stands out to me, that 92% of people who buy a service already have at least one vendor in mind
Yep.
when they get ready to engage. 60 plus percent have at least three, right? And so the reason you're doing all of this posting is that if you're talking, first of all, if you know your ICB and you're talking about a problem that you know exists within their world or one of a bucket list of four, no more than that, problems that exist in their world, and you're talking about it from a story perspective, as we've just learned. I've learned so much in this. Thank you so much. But and you're talking about it in a personalized way and how you whatever we all the things we just learned. Um, you're gonna familiarity is gonna kick in, and um, that doesn't mean that. I mean, you still have to have an engagement strategy. Moni has a workshop for that,
Mhm.
but you have, still have an engagement strategy in terms of at some point reaching out to people and
Right.
saying, "Hey." Saw you have seen some of my stuff. Here's what I really do, or I help people who have this problem. I don't know if that's your world, but if it is, I'd love to, engage in some kind of way.
Right.
Do no harm, I always say.
Right.
Because the buyers, I will say this, like, if you saw my LinkedIn email, like, it is connect.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I get so much of that, and I
Yep.
know that the people who I'm trying to engage with are getting the same thing.
Yep.
So um that's why voice message on a one-to-one on LinkedIn is really good. Video to the person directly on LinkedIn is
Hmm.
really good. If you're trying to actually get people to come to your website or engage with you or engage around your what it is that you're doing, I
Yep.
think that you have to have a and Mona can,
Yep.
I have the reason I get with Moni is because I get all these tactics and tactics don't equal strategy. So, and I'm, inconsistent at best around these things. I know I got to be there. I almost feel like my wife and her Poshmark, if I get out of the algorithm, no one's gonna buy anything. So like I gotta I know I need to stay consistent in the algorithm, but I can't have too much frequency. And then I get, oh, I haven't been in there for a while. I need to post twice a day.
Right.
And it doesn't help. So,
Right.
so, but it's so funny, Moni. I'll just say this really quick.
Hmm.
Um, I was on this AI thing and everybody generated, a plushie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, thank you, Queen, AI, whatever, if it's very official, bring your plushie to work day. That post
Mm-hmm.
a month ago got the most 1,000 of in the last 90 days. That post has gotten more impressions
Mm-hmm.
of me
Mm-hmm.
with a plushie,
Mm-hmm.
and my plushie partner.
Yeah.
In fact, Moni, I think you even commented like
Yeah.
that could be your mascot.
Exactly.
We both have on, my little,
Yeah.
Argyle sweater or whatever,
Yeah.
and that post got 1,433 impressions. Um, um, Stories. I just popped in here to see. 2 months ago, I told a story about I spoke with the CRO yesterday, and they said to me, and I told the story that that's my second highest. It's got 1,110 impressions, right? Um, Tagging people did work for me on my predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my first prediction, I tagged a bunch of CROs who
Mm-hmm.
and connections who I had known.
Mm-hmm.
And that one got the drop though, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, goes from 11 to 604 impressions. Now,
Yeah.
for me, 604 impressions is not, I have 15,000 connections.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not
Yeah.
but Moni, I'm gonna come back to you with my praise report because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to apply this structure and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be able to show you
Let's go. Let's
that
go.
from
Because
looking
it,
at my so it won't just be your little blips. It's going to be
yeah.
mine. I'm going to show you, hey, look at mine.
Let's go.
Because
Let's
I think
go.
you're right. So I think
Yeah.
the humanizing and all the things you said are really great.
It actually
So
goes great to Curtis's question, which is consistency of schedule, because it's not the amount of posts. It's the consistency that really does well because we want to see trends. Like, and LinkedIn will even tell you themselves, it's the consistency that is better, right? I would rather see you post Monday, Wednesday, Friday consistently than post Sunday at 9, like Wednesday at 4, Friday at noon. Like, they like the consistency of schedule. It's an algorithm. Algorithms like patterns. Okay. So it's a pattern-based thing. So yeah, consistency matters. Pick your 3 days and be consistent with that. Curtis, you also mentioned like a limited ability to kind of prime and do the post follow-up. If you can't prime, that's okay. The biggest thing is, again, comments. All right. If have your alerts on or whatever, if someone comments, be able to comment back as quickly as you can. Okay. The more comments, especially early on, it just gives the reach a lot better. So if there's one thing you can do, and kind of the things that I mentioned, is just respond to the comments when you can. But consistency is absolutely one of those things. Highly recommend me being consistent on. Okay. And remember, again, not every one of these is gonna slap. Okay. It's just not. It's not how it works. All right. So, but consistency is key. All right. And fit one
I
of
got
these
one
in a week.
more.
Don't do all of them all the time. Don't do
No,
that.
Moni, I will say this.
Yeah.
And this might be a clue, and I don't know if you read into this at all. So, announcements,
Yep.
job changes,
Yep.
things like that.
Yep.
Like when I changed jobs,
Yep.
um, that post got
Yep.
7,583 impressions. It is
Yep.
by far
Yep.
like the next closest one is
Yep.
one that I did about almost like a news update, but it was personal about
Yep.
sales reps missing quota. That was
Hmm.
1,900. So the
Hmm.
most in the last year, 7,500
Here's the key.
impressions,
There's a key to that. So
right?
the job updates do extremely well. What would work even well is you do the job update, leave that post, and then do a personal story update about why you left the job, what happened, what changes is
Oh,
going on.
oh, oh.
Couple those two things. So it's double the benefit. Okay. So do
Yeah,
the
because you
post
can
and
do
then do a personal
announcements,
story.
right? You can do like an announcement. It
I'm
doesn't have
not,
to be a job change. It
and
could be
of course, any kind of
another.
announcement.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw someone do something funny of like, I got up this morning to update or so something.
I'm glad to announce I woke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay!
Hmm.
Oh
But
no,
yeah,
that's
all
great.
those ones, couple that with the personal story.
Yeah.
Anytime you have something like that going on, like that's a 2 for 1. Easy.
Okay.
I have a question. So all of
Yes.
the tips that you provided, this
Hmm.
is US based LinkedIn, right?
Correct.
So if I were, I don't know, going to another country for a
Hmm.
couple of months,
Hmm.
and wanted to make sure I'm getting engagement and say, I don't know, like South Korea or something.
Hmm.
Would these tips still be applicable for those who actually use it in South Korea? Because they don't even have a high um, number of people who use it. But for the, like, is it the same for
It's
everyone who uses
my
LinkedIn? Or
understanding is yes. I don't think LinkedIn has a different algorithm based on country.
okay,
So, and these
No,
are
I
their
checked
So
around the
general,
country. Yeah,
yeah.
it's the same. It
I
just
will
shows
say
up.
I have a surprising number of UK and Indian people who found me out of the blue when I
Mm-hmm.
started promoting posts. So I think there is just LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah, I would
got
say
it.
so. I think these are just general tips.
Yeah, because I was wondering, I've gotten a lot of Japanese and
Mm,
I don't even speak Japanese. Yeah, so I mean, great.
yeah.
I love having everyone, but I just was like wondering if there were certain things, algorithms going on that we're doing that might trigger certain countries. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think so. Mm-mm. All right, guys, I've taken you over time. Thank you so much for your engagement, your questions. You guys have been phenomenal. You guys all connecting on me on LinkedIn. Is there something that you didn't get to ask or anything? Shoot me a DM. Happy to answer it. As we close down, there will be a survey after. If you can take it for me, please, please, please. I love you all so, so much. Your feedback is super, super important to me. I'm going to be doing kind of these style of kind of, workshop-y courses every other month throughout the year. April is going to be about newsletters. So like how to do newsletters right. So look out for that. Appreciate you if you want to show up for that one. And again, I know almost all of you personally. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Do hope this was beneficial to you. The workbook, if you did not get it, I'll be sending it out in the email. Use it. Let me know also how it worked for you. It helped me be structured. That was my biggest thing and helped me kind of think through some of these ideas so I'm not just shooting shooting in the wind. It helped a lot. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next
Thanks, Moni.
one.
Take care.
Bye.